everybody and welcome back. Well, we've made it to May. We're in late spring, going into early summer, and we're ready for good times ahead. And so I want to share with you one of my favorite cocktails for late spring and summer, and that's a white sangria. Some of the items that you're going to need for this recipe are brandy, and you only need a half a cup, and then you'll want club soda, ginger ale, white wine, and I usually get pretty inexpensive white wine. Save the really good wine for another time because you're going to be adding a lot of fruit to this recipe and it's going to cover the flavor. So I also tend to go with a Pinot Grigio because I've tried it with a Chardonnay and the Chardonnay seemed to be a little heavy, but try it both ways and see which one you like best. But I tend to go with Pinot Grigio. It's a little lighter. You'll have to have some sugar, about 3 tablespoons of sugar, and then peaches. You can use mangoes. I wasn't able to find any mangoes right now. Apples, oranges, and lemons and limes. And let's see if I forgot anything. I wrote some things down so I wouldn't forget for you. If you have some mint, get a few sprigs of mint. I grow my own, and so I just have it, and I always use it as garnish. And if you ever decide you want to grow mint, let me give you a hint. Grow it in a pot, because if you put it out in your garden, it will take over your garden. But if you put it in a pot, it stays pretty contained within that pot. So that's just a little hint about mint. And then I think that's it. I think I'm going to leave the lemons out of this recipe. I'm afraid it'll be too tart. I did find some less tart oranges. I got the Honey Bell and Tangelos. So those are a little less tart, but if you like a little tart, almost like a lemonade drink, add some lemons to it also. It's a very flexible recipe, mostly just a lot of fruit, wine, and other added ingredients. And it's really delicious. It's perfect for this time of year. If you're going to have those patio parties or just be at a lake or the beach, just make up a huge batch of this and everybody's going to love it. They're going to think it's delicious and they're going to want your recipe. Okay, let's get started. I bought frozen peach slices. These are Freestone slices, Freestone peach slices, and because I couldn't find peaches either, but to me, peaches are essential for this recipe. So if you have a favorite fruit, be looking for that. And then I'm going to add apple, and all I'm going to do is cut up this apple in chunks, just like, not pretty chunks. It can just be just rough cut, rough chunks. But I do take the peel off and try to take most of it off. You can really work at it and take it all off, or you can leave it looking really it's like a simple recipe that you didn't put a lot of work into, that you just kind of threw together because you're just having so much fun you didn't want to spend all your afternoon making sangria. So this is what I'm talking about. Just don't measure it, just cut. You know, they don't have to be perfect, and I think there's some beauty in imperfection anyway, so we're going to go with that idea. And if it has a little peel on it, I just leave it on. And so we're going to put 1 whole apple. Now, I have made double batches before. It depends on how many people you have and how much they like sangria. So I am simply cutting this up in a rough cut and dropping it in. You know those huge beverage bars that you can buy that have a spout? Those are perfect for this. You can make a huge double batch of this and then add ice to it, and it's good for the whole afternoon. And your guests can just stop by and refill their glasses and not feel like they're intruding and asking you for another drink. It's just right there handy. So we have the apple. Now this fruit's already been washed, so I am going to cut off most of the skin on the peel on the orange, because it can taste a little bitter if you leave the peel on. So I'm going to cut that off. And boy, does it smell delicious. These are really fresh. I'm gonna rough cut that too. Sorry you're hearing all this clanging on this cutting board. I've had this cutting board forever, and it's so perfect. It's like an acrylic cutting board, and it works out beautifully because it washes up nice and neat. Cut that, and it's nice and juicy. If you have cherries, I would even add cherries because you want that sweetness to it, and it's really pretty to have those in there. Okay, and I'm going to add a lime. I'm leaving mine lemon now, but feel free to add it to yours. Try not to leave the chunks too large because you're going to be seeing it in the bottom of your glass, and you don't want enormous chunks of fruit in there. Although a friend of mine said that she took the sangria fruit from her sangria one evening and poured it or spooned it over ice cream, and she said it was delicious. I have not done it, and I wasn't at her party. So next time she has a party and I'm invited, I'm going to ask her to make that. So I've already measured this, and this is 3 tablespoons of sugar, just white sugar. And I don't think it really matters. I think maybe brown sugar could be just a little bit too sweet. And then we're going to have check my phone. I just got some kind of message. We're going to it looks beautiful already. And then we're going to have a half a cup of brandy. And I think this is one of the secrets to a good white sangria is adding the brandy. You can add cognac too, or no, either one or the other, substitute brandy or cognac. But I wouldn't put both. It might be a little too alcoholic, and then your party might get out of hand. So here is the club soda, and I usually put about half a bottle of this just to give it some fizz. And then we have our ginger ale. And you'd be surprised how these flavors blend to make perfect fruit sangria. And a white sangria to me has such a different taste than the red sangria. And many times in the summer, I prefer white wines over red wines anyway, so that works out beautifully. And let me double check and make sure I haven't forgotten anything. We have the peaches and the apples and the oranges and the limes. And like I said, you could add mango. You can add peach schnapps too. A little touch of that might be pretty good. And I have the brandy. And let me get a spoon and we're going to stir this up. Wonderful. Now, here, but there's our sangria, and add a little bit of mint, and you are good to go. Doesn't that look delicious? And like I said, choose your fruits, because you may have fresh fruits in your area that will work just as well, and you may have some other, like I said, brandy, cognac, Chardonnay, Pinot Grigio. Throw it all in there together and try it and see if there's a recipe that you can put together for yourself. But I've given you the basics, and I think that you're going to love it, and it's perfect for spring and summer. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, please tap the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram. Bye!